Hello and welcome to Talk This Way. I'm your host, Marcia Martin, and in today's special episode, we're diving into the heart of leadership and transformation in a world that's rapidly changing around us. Leadership is an evolving concept, one that has shifted from the traditional confines of titles and roles to a more inclusive, impactful understanding. It's about making a difference, causing something to happen, and creating a future that we all want to be a part of. This is not just for the few with executive titles, but for anyone who seeks to lead from where they are with what they have. Today, we'll explore the essence of soulful leadership, the kind that resonates with our deepest desires to belong and to contribute to something greater than ourselves. We'll take a journey through the stages of consciousness, from seeing ourselves as mere participants in our lives to recognizing our power to create change and inspire others. I'll also share my personal journey and the lessons learned from being part of the executive team that created transformative programs like EST, which later evolved into the Landmark Forum, and how these experiences have shaped my understanding of what it truly means to lead. Moreover, I'm excited to introduce you to the Marcia Martin Membership Club, a platform where I've compiled decades of wisdom into accessible, transformative resources. It's a culmination of my life's work aimed at empowering you to awaken you to your own leadership potential. So whether you're at the helm of an organization, spearheading a community project, or looking to make a difference in your personal sphere, this episode is for you. We're about to embark on a journey that challenges the conventional, embraces the innovative, and celebrates the power of leadership in every one of us. Let's get to it.
Marcia Martin, welcome as a guest on the Changemakers podcast. I am so honored and pleased and excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you so much, Runa. I have been looking forward to this. You know how I adore you and the work that you do in the world with the Changemakers, and I'm honored to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. Marcia, having a conversation with you for only 20 minutes or is like, how am I actually going to get everything that I want to know from you into such a short space of time? But with I just want to go directly to what I feel is so important that we look at now in the beginning of a new decade. And someone who has, your work in the world for the past decades in training leaders, creating leadership programs, being really on the top of the notch, knowing what leaders need to do to thrive. And I'm so sure that with everything that is changing in this world, there's so many people, leaders, and whether it's just their own leadership role that they're taking or in their work, they're just thinking, how am I going to survive? What's happening? What do I need to do? So I'm just going to go directly into this conversation, Marcia. What should people do?
Well, first of all, you're talking about something that's very interesting, complex, and powerful, leadership. Mm-hmm. And we all have maybe different ideas about what leadership is. In terms of me and what I've done in the world and where I've come from, I have been working in leadership for many, many decades. Mm-hmm. And when I first started as a young girl, starting creating organizations, running organizations, being a leader for many thousands of people, it was a different place. It was a different place for a woman. It was really a man's world. I worked mostly with men. I was a strong voice because I've always been independent, but most of the voices I worked with were male voices. And leadership was one of those things that was looked at that if you had the title, you were the leader. And also, I think it was a different time in terms of how people experienced what responsibility is. So at that time, in the early 70s, being responsible didn't mean that you could create your own universe. It didn't mean that you could cause your own future. It meant that you kind of were the effect of your circumstances and you did your best to get along. And so most people considered that what they committed to was a result of what their circumstances were. And their commitment was determined by circumstance. And times have changed now. We're not victims anymore. And there's many women voices in the world. And I think leadership itself has changed. And for me, what leadership is where you take on the responsibility to cause something to happen. And it doesn't mean you have a title. It doesn't mean that you're in charge. It doesn't mean that you're chairing the meeting. It doesn't mean that it's your area of responsibility. It means that you're willing to cause something to happen and to make an impact. And when I was a young girl, that was one of the best things that was taught to me. And what it was that I could have the consciousness and grow and make a difference. And I think that what's happening right now in leadership is that people are starting to understand. I kind of look at humankind as there's two things that really make a difference to a human being. One, that we belong, that we're connected, that we have a community, that somehow we're here and someone else sees that we're here. And the second one is that we make a difference, that we have value, that we can cause something to happen. And I think when organizations and leaders realize those two very important callings that are calling from our soul of what we want to experience, to be a part of something and to make a difference, that then leadership can make a real difference. And so that to me is the new paradigm now, is that we consider leadership isn't something that is yours because of a title. We consider that your voice is powerful and can make a difference. And then leaders not only lead others to find that out, but they allow others to lead and they develop others to be in that realm and in that paradigm. So that's kind of what's happening with me at this point.
You mentioned your soul calling. And my experience is that I'm feeling, around me at least, more and more people starting to wake up and ask that question. What is my soul calling?
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. You know, when I was a young girl, and my heritage is different than many people, I had the grace to be mentored by many powerful people who made a big difference in our world. And in the 70s, I helped create an organization called EST, which became Landmark Forum. And I was the senior vice president, and I had over 5,000 people working directly for me. And we took 20 people in the first educational seminar that we produced. And by the end of the 10 years when I left, we had millions of people and graduates worldwide. So it was quite an extraordinary experience. At the beginning, our purpose internally, and we took this very seriously, was to create a critical mass of consciousness in the world so that a turning could take place for humanity. And that turning was to go from where you experience yourself as a victim to where you realize you had power, you had internal power, and you could cause something to happen. And you weren't the victim of your circumstance, but you could cause circumstances to happen. And what I see now is the unfolding of that. It is, everyone is waking up, and we have woken up. And now we're realizing the inner power that we have and that we can make a difference. And we're starting to take on that responsibility. You know, I look at consciousness in kind of 4 stages. And the first stage is really where you consider that you are the effect of your universe and the world kind of acts on you. You're at the effect of the world. And then once you kind of live that out for a while and have experience and you grow, you come to a different kind of consciousness where you realize, wait a minute, I can cause something can happen. I can make something happen. I can make this go. I can create a circumstance. But in that kind of second stage of consciousness, we're creating those circumstances for ourselves. It's all about me, what I can do for myself. I want a new car. I want a new house. I want a bigger salary. I want more money. I want more power. And it's all about me. And we go along and we get to a point where we realize that that's not all there is. And we have that emptiness inside where our soul does reach out and call for us. And in that moment, we go to a different stage of consciousness, which is where we realize there's more to what we can do with our power than just get things for ourselves. What we can do with our power is make a difference in the world and cause it to be a better place. And that higher power of having a higher calling, it's not about me, but it's about the impact that I can have on society, on community, on another human being, that I can matter. That consciousness then expands. And when you get to a stage 4 consciousness, I think that what happens is somehow something that's magical in the universe sees that you want to make a difference. And that piece of the universe says, let's use her, let's use him. And you become to be a vehicle for something to happen through you. And that to me is where I've come in my journey, where I feel I'm being used by the universe. And when I'm not supposed to be doing what I'm trying to do, even though I think I want to do this, my will says this is what I want to do, the universe says, no, that's not the path you're on. You're over here. And now what I want to do is give away my wisdom. And I just created this thing called the Marcia Martin Membership Club.
Yes.
An online digital library of all my work in the past, because I want people to wake up and I want people to know who they are as a leader, and I want people to be able to make a difference. So that's my mission now in the last quarter of my life, is to give it away and give it to others, duplicate myself, make a million Marcias.
Make a million Marcias. Oh my God. I just got goosebumps when you're saying that. And I know from my own experience learning, you've been mentoring me, you've been my coach. I've learned so much from you.
Oh, thank
you. So, and I can't wait myself to get into this, all your wisdom whenever I need it. I know I can always call you up, but I don't think that's really, you're going to say, no, shut up and just go online. But, but that is, I think, is just a great news. I want to go, as much as I love your online platform, and I want to go there, and I'm going to be one of the first one on that. Is that you talk about this higher consciousness and the time that it has then taken. I'm a little bit thinking about the time that is taken from where you started with AST and then Landmark Forum and creating that movement, and that 300,000 people have gone through you alone. And I think the length of time that it takes us to wake up. What do you see yourself if you look at humanity as we are today? What do you say? Yes, we are, more and more of us are waking up, but what do you see is just going to happen in the next decade?
Oh, I think it's going very fast now. When an ocean turns the tide, it starts at the bottom and you don't notice it. And it happens over a period of time, and then suddenly there's a critical mass of the water going in a different way, and you see it at the top. And that's what's happened with our world today. We have turned the tide, and now we're starting to see that the tide has turned. It started a long time ago, and it took some time. But I'll tell you this, Runa, enlightenment happens in a second. People wake up. It doesn't take a long time to wake up. It takes a long time to get to the point where they wake up. But the waking up happens like that.
Yeah.
And when you wake up, you can't not be woken up. It's kind of like you can ride a bicycle and it takes a long time to learn how to do it, and you can't do it and you can't do it, and then all of a sudden you can. And then you always know how to ride a bicycle. And so you're always awake. Now, whether we're responsible about being awake, that's a choice. But we can't take back the awakening. The awakening is so, And then we choose. Do I choose to be responsible? Do I choose to make a difference? Do I choose to respond to the events in my life, to the people, to the situations, to the circumstances in a way that they expand and get better? Or do I choose to pretend that I can't do anything about it? Do I choose to be in a bad mood and pretend I'm at the effect of my mood and that it's not a choice? Do I pretend that I'm so small and they're to blame for my unhappiness and then pretend that I'm asleep? It's a choice. And my choice is we're all in this together. We're not going to get out one by one without all of us together. So, I just say, pick up your shovel and start digging. Come on, there's a lot to get done. And that's what my
yeah.
life's about right now.
And thank you for all the work that you've done for humanity. It's an enormous amount of work that you've done. One of my biggest lessons from you, Marcia, and I am now continuing actually spreading out your words on that level is, and that was a big awakening for me, it was this whole thing about space and things in space.
Oh, yeah. Space.
Now, space, yeah. So as we're going into a new decade, and there are more people at that verge, there's something internally that they are starting to pay attention to, but they might not have the space for their soul to really fully expand, and their soul is there, but they fully understanding that they're there. What would be your advice to them? What do they need to do?
First of all, I would say always there's space.
Yeah.
But there's also things in space. So it's never that you don't have the space. It's that the space is filled up with something else. And when the space is filled up, well, then you can only have so much room for so many things. Mm-hmm. So the question really is, what is the space you want? And what are the things that are filling up your space? And what do you need to let go of? And then that's a really important question about what space you want, because space is very interesting. You create some space. You say, oh, I'm done with that old relationship. Now you have space for a new relationship. You sell your house. Now you have space to create a new kind of way you're going to live, a new place to live perhaps. You sell an old car. You have space to have a new way of transportation. You get rid of an old habit. You have space to choose how you're going to have a new behavior. But you need to choose, because if you don't choose consciously, space will fill itself. It'll automatically just fill up because space attracts things. So it's, first of all, what is it you want to create in your life? And then what do you need to let go of so you have space to create that? Now you can let go of something which creates the space, but you've also already had the intention of what you want to put into the space. So, for example, with me, there were times in my life I wanted to create a new relationship. And, I had to let go of old relationships. I had to forget about a man that I was lost over or sad about. And instead of taking up all of my space with longing for something that didn't exist anymore, I needed to let go of that and have room for a new person to come into my life. But I also had to intend, what kind of relationship do I want to have, so that I was attracting the right kind of thing or relationship to put in the space. What I want now is to create space for others to be able to understand how to create space for others. So if I can teach someone, that's part of the cycle. That's great. And then if I can teach someone to teach someone, that's almost all the way there. But if I can teach someone to teach someone to teach someone, it will go on forever. Now I've created something that it's sustainable.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what leaders need to be about in this new paradigm is sustainability. What is it we are causing, and how can we cause it to be sustainable? And if you kind of list those two questions to yourself, then you will want to cause something that makes a difference. Because when you realize you want it to be sustainable and last forever, well, then you'll be pretty particular about what you're creating the space to put together.
You become more aware of whom you want to be, and what your personal brand, come to the personal branding part, what you want to be known for. Yeah, so true. Well, and that's also where people can go. People can, on your website now, they can go and they can actually get access to all of these programs that you've been creating throughout the decades.
The millenniums. Well, if people go to marciamartinclub.com, it's MarciaMartin club.com. What we've done is we've created kind of an online HBO library, audio and video library of all of my work from the past, workshops, podcasts, interviews. So they've been edited, and you can select what you want to watch or listen to, and you can see how much you want to watch. It's all done in time, so you know it's 30 minutes or an hour or 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. All the topics are there, so anything that you want to learn about. And you know this, but I have a particular gift of speaking in a certain way that makes people's brains change. Mm-hmm. And how they think is what I do in life. I create new mindsets, new ways of thinking for people. And when you have a new way of thinking, automatically you'll have a new way of speaking and acting and have new behaviors, which will cause new results. And I can promise people, if they go to my online digital membership club, Marcia Martin Membership Club, marciamartinclub.com, that if you listen or watch any of the material, pick anything you want, I don't care in which order, and listen 30 minutes a week or an hour every 2 weeks for a couple of months, you'll change. You'll transform, you'll be a new person, and you'll be walking around like a lot of people are walking around right now saying, now, what would Marcia do in this situation? Well, what would Marcia say in this situation? And it's a different enough way of speaking and behaving that causes breakthrough results and championship performance and incredible wealth and happiness. So I'm thrilled. But I do want to say one other thing. Is we're at a time now that a lot of the indigenous tribes have been talking about for thousands of years, which is the whole the eagle and the condor prophecy. And what the indigenous tribes have said for over 3,000 years is there will be a time in humanity where our heart and our head must work together. Our heart is nature and love. It's how we have our world. It's where we're all connected. Our head is science and amazing technology and our intellect and our thought processes. And usually we've been a humanity in the last maybe 500 years that works mostly from our head. And what's happening now is what the indigenous tribes say is when the eagle and the condor, the eagle representing your intellect and the condor representing your internal nature and your love and your heart, fly wingtip to wingtip across the rainforest together, then humanity will awaken and we can have a sustainable, useful, long-lasting universe. But if we don't do that, then humanity's in trouble. And we're at a time of choice. And that's why it's so important to me about my work and why I've done the club, because people need to wake up and realize that some of the ways we're thinking and some of the ways we're behaving are causing our universe to die, not to be sustainable, are causing our communities to die, not to be sustainable, are causing our relationships to die and not be sustainable. And our heart is breaking at a soul level. So, it's a very special time in the universe. It's a very special decade. It's a very special responsibility for leadership and leaders. And this is the time that we can really make a difference.
This is the time that we can really make a difference. And I can endorse every single thing that you said. You've been a tremendous influencer in my life and on a very positive level. So I can totally endorse everything that you just said. And I also want to add in, and to our listeners, please go to marciamartinclub.com and find out how you can use this woman's wisdom to be part of making a difference in this world. Because that's really what we all need. Marcia, I knew it. I would need another half an hour. We just have to put up on another call soon, okay?
I would love that, Runa. And you know how much I adore you. And thank you for all the work you do with Changemakers. Amazing movement.
Thank you so much. Until next time, keep on being your best and don't let those boxes stop you from being the change that you want to be in the world.
Thanks for listening to Talk This Way. If you enjoyed the episode, follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And for access to training, courses, and other ways to learn from Marcia, visit marciamartin.com. That's MARCIA.